they have to design a tour program for traveling within Scandinavia?
Traveling, and then a share of that goes to Scandinavia. The ones going to Scandinavia,
Paris, Switzerland, and Rome. So these were the main destinations which used to be sold into the Indian market. What experiences are people missing in Scandinavian countries?
has been foraging in the nature. And so the perception sometimes has been, and I am hoping less and less, because we're trying to, of course, communicate that.
Especially when it comes to the movement of the MICE groups, strong destination management company is required to design and execute a Scandinavian itinerary. Namaskar दोस्तों, welcome to Bindaas Anshum, real leaders, real stories. The population of India is 1.4 billion people, but there is one man in India. So when it comes to Scandinavia, only Mohit Batra can answer the questions to that country and region. Welcome Mohit to this podcast.
Thank you for an over-exaggerated welcome.
For coming over here. So there is one very strange question which came to my mind just now. Do Scandinavians call you that when do they have to design a tour program for traveling within Scandinavia?
Oh, that's not true. See, it's true that I've worked with the Scandinavian Tours Board for the last 15 years, and of course you travel out of passion, you learn as much as you can, and the process continues, and I'm happy to share what I know. So they of course live there, they breathe the environment and the culture day in and out. So there's a lot of my friends that tell me a lot about what else should be experienced as a visitor, and then I'm happy to share that. So
yeah, but a Norwegian will know more and more of Norway, less of Denmark and Sweden. So but you are one man out of this entire Indian population who knows everything in and out about the Norway, Denmark and Sweden.
Well, to some extent, and not everything. I'm still wanting to learn much more, and I hope I have a long way to go. But happy to sort of share as much as the knowledge I've gained over the years. But I also am focused, my market remains India. So professionally, I'm only sharing everything that I know with my colleagues here that I've worked with for so long, the travel trade, which is primarily because that's my focus, is inspiring the travel trade to create better programs, or to create an environment where they can learn more about the partners in Scandinavia that are interested in the Indian market. And I think we've come a long way in 15 years trying to inspire Indians from just about traveling to the capitals. 15 years back, there was almost like a whirlwind sort of a tour which went through the capitals one night each or 2 nights each.
Yeah, definitely. I remember that time.
To today, evolving over the years in terms of being much more informed, traveling with a lot of more purpose, and to each his own in terms of what they're looking out from a destination. And so very difficult to say how somebody should holiday, and it's very different when you have an opportunity of going back several times. You may want to do different things in the same destination, but someone who's going for the first time, I understand he wants to do as much. But we've seen that also change in terms of people's expectations from what they want to see. The social media has shaped a lot of that. They have started to have a lot more time, even if it's their first visit. We are also now beginning to see repeat travelers to Scandinavia, and Scandinavia is also one of those destinations which is an all year round destination. So if you did go there in the autumn, you want to go back in the summers, and you want to go back in the winters.
That's why we wanted to do this podcast, so that we break open certain myths about Scandinavia, we bring out certain knowledge for the advancement of our understanding of our viewers, so that more and more people can learn about the destination. So, in the last 15 years since you started promoting Scandinavia, how have the Indian travelers evolved over time? Like what was way back in 2010 and 12, and now the traveler who is there?
So, definitely. I mean, as travelers, Indians are far well-traveled people today. The 35 million of them that travel every year. And it's growing, and soon it's likely to be 50 million in the future.
Oh, that's a
so
wonderful
that's a
thing.
significant number. Of course, Europe gets about 20% of those travelers. So we're looking at about 7 million people traveling, and then a share of that goes to Scandinavia. The ones going to Scandinavia from the beginning have been very evolved, travelers that have already traveled to most parts of the world. Especially 10 years back, of course, the very niche travelers that were either looking to travel for Northern Lights, photography, or they knew about the fjords, and some of them traveling beyond the capital cities. But today, it's come a long way in terms of what people expect. There's so much of more knowledge, there's so much of more inspiration. There's times when you have someone picking up on a reel and sending you that and saying, we want to go here. Sometimes it's not easy to recognize a mountain and a snow with the village.
But people expect that from Mohit.
Yeah, well, it's not always possible, but of course you can use digital technology to help you find where people are looking to go. And that means that, from an inspiration which was limited to a movie in the 70s or 80s, your exposure was only limited to that, to what you saw in a television set or what you saw in a movie, has changed to what you got inspired last week, and what you suddenly, you may have had something like a completely different country in Asia on mind, and something has changed that perception, and you say, but I want to head out here. So that's really happened over the years in terms of, especially the pandemic reshaped a lot of our behavior and consumption patterns. From Indians wanting to holiday for short vacations, quick, 2-night into a city and out. I think we are far more intelligent today to spend more time. We are also real value seekers, and when we know the real value is to spend more time and to see a city or a town or a village or experience the culture, well, we understand spending those 3 nights extra can change the pace of the holiday, can get us to do a lot more than we would have done on otherwise. So we are, of course, traveling for midnight sun, Northern Lights, Christmas travel. We're traveling also looking at Scandinavia in the summers for traveling to cooler destinations, because there is a real problem in terms of the global warming, and some of the other parts of the world have become warmer during the peak summers. And so in Scandinavia you have the options to be, of course, further south, but you can also travel above the Arctic. You can go to Lofoten Islands or Tromsø, or northern part of Norway or northern Sweden.
That will come. We have certain questions which we'll discuss on that. But first we want to understand, 15 years back, the world was only aware about London, Paris, Switzerland and Rome. So these were the main destinations which used to be sold into the Indian market. And 15 years back, you decided to sell Scandinavian countries to the Indian consumer, to educate them. What motivated you at that point of time?
Well, I guess some things just happened. Maybe I'm not sure if I manifested that. But you're aware that I started 20 years back or 25 years back in the tourism sector. And at some point I realized that there was a big gap in understanding the Indian culture for the ones coming in here. And I started a consulting and marketing company to bridge that gap. And I started representing hotel chains and DMCs in 2005, starting off with Asia, and then you naturally want to progress, and growth in a consultancy like this is only what next can I do? Maybe another part of the world. Did something for Australia and New Zealand. At some point of time, back to Europe in some ways.
Yeah.
And Manchester City is what I represented for 5 years.
Oh,
Now, Manchester wasn't easy to market in India because everyone just wanted to go to London and a little bit of Edinburgh. And we had a very good strategy with Manchester Tourism, Visit Manchester at that point of time. And we impacted tourism from India to Manchester in a really good way, in just how the location advantage we were able to position. So I think I always felt there's something which is challenging, something that needs an effort to put it out there, something that doesn't require an oversell, but something that requires you to bring it to notice of others. And Scandinavia was not being talked about so much, and I may have just thought about it, and it just sort of fell in place at one point of time that I got in touch, and we started working with the Scandinavian Tourist Board, and it didn't seem that easy to begin with, though it's such an inspiring destination. So all you need to sort of do it is to put some images out there and let people decide where they want to go.
Yeah.
But it did take us some while, and the journey has been incredible, from getting people to just look out for day trips from the capital cities to then experience the fjords, and then talking about going back, experiencing the autumn or winters, and of course the journey has continued ever since. So it's been very inspiring and very satisfying, and I hope it continues a bit
definitely
more.
it's going to continue. There is one very famous itinerary into the Indian market for the first time traveler, which is London, Paris, Netherlands, Brussels, then Netherlands, then Germany, then Switzerland, then Liechtenstein, then Austria, and then coming into Italy.
Yeah.
So this is, we call as the mother itinerary.
Yeah.
But Scandinavia as a destination has grown up now.
Yeah.
Earlier, the trend was first go to Thailand, then Singapore, then Malaysia, then you go for UK visa, then you go for Schengen visa, and that was the first itinerary which used to come up.
Yeah.
And as you were saying that earlier people used to go only to the main cities, the capital cities. But how has the Indian passenger evolved for the Scandinavian market? Means, are they going to the other cities, and what are the major attractions they are drastically looking forward to?
So I think all segments in India have grown, from leisure traveler who's largely putting in holiday together with some assistance of a travel agent, and then there are group travel itineraries. And 15 years back, I looked at a lot of itineraries that call themselves Best of Scandinavia, and I couldn't sort of come to terms with saying that why are they calling it Best of Scandinavia, because this
Then
is
they're
not
not covering it.
and so covering only 10 or 15% of a region doesn't really happen to make it the best of Scandinavia. I think we have very evolved itineraries. Travelers must also research on their own how they would like to travel, how they would like to, what pace is what they're looking at. They should be informed how many kilometers are they traveling every day. Is it just a few hours of travel? Is it 10 hours of travel? And of course, you like to cover as much, but if you just go touch upon a destination, reach there in the afternoon or late afternoon, have dinner there and leave for the next place, it's little that you can remember that place. You are unlikely to come back and say, I love this destination. So it's very, very important in terms of pacing out the vacation and choosing your style of holiday. And there are many itineraries that are doing good justice today.
Okay.
So you could have 3 countries covered in 10 or 12 days, and you may have 3 countries covered in 2 weeks, but you may also have some people selling you 2 countries in 2 weeks. And so it's entirely up to the pace and your expectations and your budgets. But
Scandinavia is considered to be a very expensive destination in comparison to the mainland Europe and Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
How far is that perception in reality?
So I think some perceptions are partially true and some perceptions are exaggerated. A lot of people in the world think India is a cheap country. You only have to be here to realize we are not. There's a lot of places I can tell you are at par with Scandinavia. If I go out for a dinner or a meal, I probably land up paying the same amount of price at the end of the meal that I would pay in Scandinavia. So, but can there be cheaper places to go and eat? Yes, that's right. Can some things be more expensive? Our public transportation is a great value for money.
Okay.
But if you take a private taxi, it might be sounding a little more expensive. If you compare sitting in the most beautiful place on the planet and enjoying a beer which is 2 times the price, without and discounting that you're sitting in the most beautiful place, which is very difficult to get to, and there is transportation involved, and so the beer can cost a little more. You shouldn't even be bothered about what you're paying for it. So it's great value from that point of view. So can some things be more expensive? Yes, but can our hotel and accommodations be great value? Can we find places which are great value? Absolutely yes. Our flights within Scandinavia, not so expensive. Hotel costs very averagely cost, pretty much like the rest of Europe, I would say.
Oh, wonderful.
Some of the activities, I would say, are at par or even more economical. If you are going to do a kayak or you're going to do a floating sauna, I think they are great value for money sort of wellness activities which are very, very competitive. Yes, if you only happen to remember a thing that's cheaper in another part of the world, then it hurts. But overall, there is...
So you mean to say it's affordable? It's just a myth which is there into the market?
So,
because you say hotels are affordable, the food is affordable, the public transport is there. So what makes it costly?
So I think in some places, depending on where you're eating, a coffee could cost you a little bit more. Let's say 20% more. A glass of beer could be slightly more, or a glass of wine. If you're comparing it with Spain or Italy, or South Africa, then it's a completely different comparison. But as I said, our private taxis could be more expensive, or something that you want to do on a very private basis could be at a different cost, because also we must realize sometimes the comparison is not fair, because you must compare the quality of what you're getting. So the quality of infrastructure is very high, and so overall it's good value, and we can be competitively priced on many fronts, and you can actually explore the destination within a good budget. But then there can be places that can cost a lot more, but you have an option of deciding how you like to sort of holiday at the end.
Doing a hop on, hop off from one island to another island, especially when it comes to Norway. So people have to take flights, or people have to take ships.
Yes.
So is that really costly?
So eventually, if you add up activities, if you're in Copenhagen as a capital, or Stockholm or Oslo, you could have a pass from the city, and that includes mainly your entrances and public transportation.
Oh, that's
so there is no extra cost there. But if you're going to go over to the Arctic and book a private Northern Light tour, and you don't know when nature is going to show up, if you're there for 3 nights and you book 3 Northern Light tours, you could be paying...
So that increases your cost.
Anything upwards of $200 per person for that activity. But you could also, be very smart to stay slightly outside of the capital city or of the main city, and then you could just step out of your hotel without booking an activity, and then you could see the Northern Lights outside. So have I seen them from my window? Many times.
No, I've also seen that many times, umpteen number of times.
So there are many things, but of course, should you plan then a 3 nights vacation? No, ideally longer. Spend about a week in the Arctic if you are wanting to see the Northern Lights. In 3 nights, we have an average of 80% plus in many parts above the Arctic. But that percentage includes the Northern Lights occurred when you were probably caught sleeping. And you probably need to sleep at some point of time. So having 5 nights is a good idea. Having a week, I think you love your entire experience there in the Arctic.
So that brings me to my next question. Beyond the Northern Lights and fjords,
Yeah.
What experiences are people missing in Scandinavian countries?
Well, there's so much. I think today people are already also aware and they're seeking that. Scandinavia or the Nordics have been in news for being the happiest place on the planet. And I think there's a sense, of course, if you say, can I land up in a city and be happy? Well, if you have a mindset, you can be happy wherever you are. But there is some positivity that you see. If you're coming in the summers and the sun is shining, you'll find us a lot more happier there. The quality of life is really good. And so depending on, there's many things beyond the northern lights and the midnight sun and the fjords. There's a whole lifestyle that you must experience, a way of life, a way of thinking.
Okay.
There is, for example, a word that the Danes use called hygge, and that means something to do with coziness, happiness. You could do it alone, you could do it like we are having a hygge time at this conversation. Had there been a little candlelight here, a little more,
Some
coffee.
wine there.
So that's really how you could create that environment for yourself to be more hygge and to be more feeling that coziness. There's a concept in Sweden that we have called lagom, and lagom is this striving in life for that right balance. If you have the right balance, not too much, not too less,
Okay.
and then life is perfect, which is what they would strive for. And that sort of experiencing that, and to have that way of life over a period of time. In Norway, you could have this concept of kos, KOS, and it means your commitment to again maybe sit by the bonfire, be outdoors, be in nature. There's another thing that we have, I'm not sure if my pronunciation is exact, it's called friluftsliv, which means your commitment to be outdoors.
Oh,
the
really?
weather can be extreme sometimes in the Arctic, it can be windy, it can be cold, but that doesn't mean you don't step out. You are committed, you just say friluftsliv.
I can vouch for that.
Yes.
I remember, I think last year or last year, when me and you were traveling and we got stuck into that extreme weather storm.
Yes.
The ship could not come at the
Yes.
port, and you were so inspired by that storm that you took us for a coffee.
Yes. Well, it's true.
And people were flying.
I don't think they were flying, so I shouldn't be seen as irresponsible. But we did have more than 100 kilometers an hour wind speeds.
Yeah.
Maybe they had eased out a bit. It was choppy. The ship couldn't make it. We were waiting for the ship to come to the dock and board that. We had to cancel that.
Yeah, even the ship could not come to the port.
But while we were waiting, we did step out for a walk, and that was, I think, the inspiration that I get from seeing someone else doing it and thinking that why can't you do it? And we could do that in India. I mean, we have sometimes terrible summers, and often we tend to be saying it's too hot to do my normal evening
I
walk.
love to stay inside when it's too hot.
But there has been times, and I've just said friluftsliv and just got up, got that energy. And once you're out doing it, I think you realize that it wasn't that bad eventually. So there's a lot of this lifestyle that you need to experience. It's a way of life, architecture and sense of design. We even have words sometimes explaining, of course, the sense of design as minimalistic, functional. Sometimes we describe it as poetic. So there is, and that sense of design, you can experience it in architecture, in buildings, but you can see that in restaurants, in hotels, everywhere actually. I mean, there's so much around that you can experience.
So everything is built around nature.
Everything. We are very, very conscious and respectful of nature.
Yeah.
And in Sweden, we have a concept called allemansrätten, and which means right to public access. Yeah. So you could really, the tree could belong to nature, to you, for example, but the fruits belong to nature. So you could actually walk into someone's garden or a farm and be able to help yourself with some strawberries.
I heard that in Finland also.
Yes.
A few months back I was there in Finland. Even there someone was telling
that's
me
right.
that the fruits don't belong to the government, they
that's
belong
right.
to the people.
Yes, that's right.
So anyone can go out in the forest, do foraging and
True.
bring anything what you want.
True. and that says that's also one of the things I think I would recommend you experiencing: foraging. For me, over the last many years of travel, one of my top experiences has been foraging in the nature.
Yeah.
And I think doing this over 3 nights or being in nature, there are cabins that are put up in the nature, and there's scientific evidence today. 3 nights of spending there in the nature, your body feels much better, you feel more relaxed, and you're coming back to your country healthier. So I think another thing that I really strongly recommend that also a lot of us may not be aware of is our gastronomy. Of course, the last 2 decades,
Yeah.
the Nordic gastronomy has dominated the world scene. With many times the best restaurants in the world having been in our capital cities or within our country. The Nordic cuisine is something that you must travel for.
But Indian traveler is very passionate about the Indian food, especially the North Indian, the Western Indian, and Eastern Indian traveler. So they want to go and eat the same Indian food over there. Of course, I've seen in all the cities and all the places the Indian food has evolved very nicely. But how would you put in comparison as a big market challenge, in fact, for all our travel agents and tour operator partners, the Indian food versus the Nordic food, which is better, and how they should educate their clients that why do they need an Indian food when you have the best Nordic food?
Well, I agree, and I think
And especially the vegetarian and Jainism.
Yeah.
That's where the big challenges come in.
So, the Indian travelers have evolved, and of course there has to be cultural aspects kept in mind. And Indian restaurants have been around in Scandinavia for long. I know at least a restaurant owner who was telling me that his father was there in the 70s to open a restaurant.
Oh, that's not
And
that
today, it's not just the typical North Indian restaurants, but today you have South Indian restaurants and a lot more. And I think this partially is growing because the Scandinavians want to explore this as well. It's not just because the Indians are traveling a lot more to the country, because we, of course, have a lot of international food in Scandinavia that you can experience. As far as the Nordic cuisine goes, there's a lot of vegetarian food. There's a lot of warm food because we have different seasons. And so it's not typically that you're always getting cold food to eat. Maybe in the summers we have a lot more salads. But we have a soup, which is pumpkin soup, for example, or a pea soup, which the Indians love. I've actually dined with a few hundred Indians over the years, and I haven't had too many Indian meals in Scandinavia. And I haven't seen anyone disappointed or feeling that, this wasn't a meal that it can happen on a certain day, that a meal, it can happen anywhere in the world. I mean, I can travel to another part of India and say I'm disappointed with this food. But we have a lot of healthy food options. We have a lot of vegan food, vegetarian food, of course, seafood. But there's no dearth of international food and what we're looking for.
And there are a lot of options for the vegetarian people and the Jain people.
Always today, you will have at least some vegetarian dishes.
Okay. And are they means filling in nature? Like people are very fond of Indian people are very fond of having breads or rice along with something, gravy or something.
Yeah. Well, of course, it's not like the Indian curries.
We don't go for 5 meals in a day. We go for 3 meals in a day.
Yeah. So it depends. We have a lot of very good, delicious breads. I tend to overeat on them sometimes because I think they are so delicious and so fresh.
Okay.
But we also, just like Indians, we love potatoes there in Scandinavia, and there's all kinds of them. So you will always see that there is a lot that's besides the main course that you will be able to sort of, feed on. I haven't seen anyone going hungry, honestly. There's a lot. In fact, sometimes, and then there's comfort food that you're looking at, depending on if you are a vegetarian, you could have a vegetarian pizza or a burger. But then if you want to experience something local, you could have something with a reindeer burger, and there's so much that you can experience as you're traveling. And some of the things I can promise you, even including two of my best Indian meals have been in a restaurant that doesn't exist in Copenhagen anymore.
Okay.
But I mean it. It was the best Indian meal I've ever had.
Oh, wonderful.
So yeah, it's a quality of our commitment to freshness, ingredients that are from the season is very, very high. So no matter where you are going, you will not be disappointed with food. I can promise you that.
That brings me to the next question, that what are the biggest barriers of selling Scandinavia in the Indian market?
So I think
Other than the food. Of course, food is one barrier.
so it's
which
only
you have
a
clarified.
So I
you
think-
have clarified on the food.
So the barrier lies in the perception.
Yeah.
And so the perception sometimes has been, and I am hoping less and less, because we're trying to, of course, communicate that. Most people.
So we have spoken about price. It's
Yes.
not too expensive.
Yes.
As it seems.
Yes.
We have spoken about food.
Yes.
So what other things
So
remain
the
as a
other
barrier?
few perceptions that I
Yeah.
think Indians have, and one of them is that Scandinavia is really far. And so, I figured this out of some research some years back, that it's not only Indians that think we are far away, but Scandinavians also think India is far away. So there we are mutually sort of defying, geography in the map.
Okay.
So we are closer than you imagine. If you're taking a direct flight, and I'm not taking in account of the geopolitical situation currently, and if you were to fly directly, a Finnair flight from Delhi to Helsinki
think
is
it's
only a
8
little
hours.
over 7 hours.
Yeah.
And on the return, it's a little about 6.5 hours. So that's almost what I keep saying. I think this term short haul and mid haul was created when we wanted to describe the capability of an aircraft to fly under 3 hours was short haul, and over 3 hours or
Was
over
longer.
5 or 6
Over
hours
5 or
was
6 hours longer.
But today you have flights that are going to, they're taking you for 16 hours. And so that's long haul, called 12 hours long haul. 7 or 8 hours has to be mid haul. And we are closer to short haul than long haul today. So we are closer than you imagine. And there are many direct flights today. So that you have almost overcome. You have flights from Delhi, and now you have a flight from Mumbai starting on the 2nd of June.
Oh, very good. Which airline?
Which is SAS Airlines.
Oh.
You have a direct flight into the Nordics, into Helsinki from Delhi, which has been there from 2006 or 7. Indigo started a flight from Mumbai, and they had to withdraw it, but hopefully they'll start one from Delhi or Mumbai in the near future.
Okay.
But then you have so many other European carriers that you can take and then fly in.
And
the
have
Middle
so
Eastern
many Middle East carriers. Which
are all going
flying
into
to India,
our capital cities and also some of the other cities. So what SAS is going to do is to connect you to the rest of Scandinavia really well. And you could combine arriving into Copenhagen, going into Bergen, for example, or going into Stockholm, and from Stockholm going into Luleå or Kiruna, or taking a flight into Tromsø. So the connections are really going to open up, and I think the travel trade needs to be a lot more creative today with these new flight connections, to be able to bring in this to the end consumer, to be able to, because I think as a professional, they really know how to put this together. And now with these flight connections, you can really create fantastic itineraries that are great value for money. Another perception that I've seen over the years of Indians having is that Scandinavia is a really cold country. We're not a very cold country at all.
Of course, in winters it's minus 40.
Well, yes, you're right. In winters, it's minus 40 in, let's say, Ketikainu. But I don't think we have a lot of people going there. But the distance from Ketikainu to Tromsø is only 3 hours. And in 3 hours, you're in Tromsø, for example, which is where even in the winters, the average temperatures are about minus 5 or minus 7. And that's because of the Gulf Stream. So you don't really have to necessarily, but of course, if you like to go to Kiruna and you like minus 20, because the landscape is different, because you like to enjoy it differently, then you must do that or make a combination of that trip. But if you said, no, I'm paranoid, I can take minus 5, you have many places to go above the Arctic where the temperature is likely to be minus 5, and then you can choose the month that you want to travel to make it a little bit more sort of going in temperatures that are more mild. But I could tell you today that we have enough jackets available in India that are as good for
Of
minus
course,
10 or
I
minus
buy
15.
from Uniqlo.
So they have gradations of jackets, which
Yeah.
are good for minus 10, minus 20. You layer yourself up. I mean, there's a certain art that you can Google and find a layering chart and watch some Scandinavians tell you. Have a lot more zippers. So if you feel hot, open them up or just zip them up so that you're not feeling too cold. There's an art of not feeling too hot, actually. In winters, one of the mistakes people make is to feel too warm. They're overdressed.
Yeah.
So those are perceptions, I think. But we have enough summer days. You come down to Denmark and you will see enough summer days every year. The sun is shining and you could have a lot of extra daylight. So you do have the benefits on the other side, traveling in the summers and long summer days. It's these perceptions that it's unbearable and inaccessible. It doesn't exist. I think if you wanted to go on an expedition, you could travel to Svalbard. It's a flight that's the furthest you can go in the Arctic is 78 degrees north, and that's Longyearbyen, and it's very accessible. So if you were to do Antarctica, it takes an extra effort. But here you are in Svalbard, you could take a flight from Oslo or Tromsø, and you're in Svalbard in a matter of 3 hours from Oslo, or 3.5 hours. Beautiful scenic flight. If you're looking out, sitting by the window, as you land, it's absolutely amazing and stunning. You could be going on an expedition from there around Svalbard, or you could go down to Greenland or head down to Iceland. Very accessible, I would say, all of this. So we just need
that
to...
brings me to my next question, that which Scandinavian destinations or products still remain unsold or are not properly marketed, which needs more attention, and they are more beautiful places?
So, beyond the capital cities, beyond the famous fjords, beyond the cities that are very popular in the Arctic, there's a lot more,
Okay.
There are small towns that may not necessarily be talked about today. You could talk about, in Norway, for example, Tromsø is really popular, and it's very beautiful, and I absolutely recommend that you can do a lot. But just outside, 2 hours of Tromsø, you could reach Lyngen Alps, and you could be amidst beautiful hiking facilities. There's a lodge called the Lyngen Experiences. You could be there, spending a couple of nights. You could be floating, wearing wetsuits into cold waters, and that's quite fascinating. You could go kayaking in the most beautiful places in Lofoten Islands, and again in Lofoten, Svalbard is really popular. But you could go outside and go to these small villages, which are really, really fascinating. You could go to salmon farming and see how salmon is being farmed, and that could be of interest to you. You could go on an eagle safari in a small place, but you could also be in Norway in a small town that I was recently in called Vardø. Only 1,700 people live there.
Oh.
But it has so much to experience. If you were to spend 2 or 3 nights in Vardø, you could actually take a 10-minute boat ride into an island which is a paradise for bird watchers. You could be amidst puffins. You could have so many other bird life. You could take a submarine and see the seals in a short, sailing across. You could see the northern lights if you were traveling between October and March. Skibotn is another place outside of Tromsø. Small really places that I recently visited. But also you could go to Sumarøy, which is getting popular by the Indians as well now, 2 hours outside of Tromsø, and you have a really nice Arctic resort to stay in, and you could spend a couple of nights there. If it's winters, you could see the northern lights. Otherwise, you would be absolutely stunned with the nature and the scenic beauty around it. It's also almost like the access to some of the other towns that you can go to across from there. So yeah, there's so much that you can experience in Sweden. You could go spend some time in a summer island. You could go to Sigtuna, just in between the airport and the Stockholm city.
Okay.
You could go to Uppsala. I was recently in an area that I think anyone who's traveling to Sweden and has a few extra days to go to Dalarna, and this is where the Dala horse comes from as well.
Oh.
It's absolutely stunning. It's fairy tale like. And then you could be traveling outside of Denmark to Roskilde, which is only 30 minutes from Copenhagen. You could travel down to Odense, Hans Christian Andersen's birthplace,
Yes.
spend a couple of nights there. I don't know if you're aware, but Tapsi Pannu is now a brand ambassador for Odense.
Oh, very good.
And it's a very quaint, beautiful town that I definitely think deserves a couple of nights. And it's only an hour and 10 minutes away from Copenhagen. So you could actually do it as a day trip, but I recommend staying there and then maybe spending a couple of nights going over to Aarhus, which is another very, very beautiful town, traveling to Aalborg or Skagen, another one of my favorite places to go. And from Copenhagen to Skagen is only 6.5 hours. So we're not really talking about traveling a lot. We're talking about experiencing a lot. So yeah, it's many, many beautiful places that we can make our routes around instead of just
No,
going
definitely.
back
I
to-
can understand. So basically, so much of beauty we have been talking about Scandinavia, whether it's food, whether it's the place and all. But when it comes to the competition with the other European destinations into the Indian market, so how well does Scandinavian fare over there?
You know, we are a very inclusive society. We are part of Europe. We're very happy people traveling anywhere in the world, coming to us, eventually finding out their own
Finding
quality
out
of life.
they missed everything in life, yeah?
Well, I think it's you tend to appreciate a lot more from what you've been seeing. Maybe when you had your first trip to Paris, you didn't appreciate the food as much, but by the time you probably now head to our part of the world, you are already so looking forward to experience so much more. And even if you're a first-time traveler, I think today we are, as I said, very well informed about what we want to do. So I feel that it's a unique region. There's a lot that we offer beyond in our lifestyle. For example, it wasn't the culture in the rest of Europe as much to go taking a cold water plunge. And it may sound, that why am I talking about this to an Indian audience? But the fact is that Indians enjoy it as much as anyone else does. You go to a floating sauna, spend some time in, take a cold water dip, and I can tell you I've done that with a lot of people.
I
as
did that.
refreshing.
I finally did that this
You did?
time.
Yeah.
And this was mesmerizing
It
experience.
is. It is very refreshing.
Out of the world.
It is.
means.
It is. Absolutely. I can still see that
And
glow on your face.
and then I did that, I think, more than 10 times in the same one sauna session.
It is an
Yeah.
addictive thing. It's something you get a little opportunity. You know, we have waterfront cities where it's built for you to enjoy the waterfront. You can go sit like you would sit on a beach. You could take a cold water dip, come back and relax in the sun, get a little coffee or get some beer or wine, go back, take another dip later in the cold water. It's always fresh and crisp. Or you could be in a club or a sauna, or you could be in a hot tub doing this with a champagne. There's so much for you to experience around this. So yeah.
Indian travelers face certain challenges in visas, especially when it comes to the Schengen visas. And there are few countries which are considered to be quite liberal with the Indian travelers, but few countries which are not really liberal, and the scrutiny or rejection rates are very high. So how well are these Scandinavian countries like Norway, Sweden, Denmark are faring onto the visa part, especially when it comes to the movement of the MICE groups, where it's a dealer incentive and a big group, and no dealer wants to get stuck up with the visa?
So I can assure you on behalf of all the three countries that our team has over the years been very efficient. We of course did have a little a setback during the pandemic for obvious reasons, and I think most other embassies faced a similar challenge. But we are well staffed. The VFS is supporting this entire initiative, of
Yeah,
course.
we will need your recommendation here for all our travel agent and tour operator partners, so that if someone is not aware, they should listen to this and understand.
Well, I
this.
think, there is a European directive which is not obligatory, but to any normal visa application, we must process that in 2 working weeks.
Okay.
Of course, you need to count time for the courier service to and fro. From the time of submission, the passports are sent back to the embassy, and that time needs to be kept in mind, of course. Besides that, I think what's very important is no matter how well traveled you are, you download the checklist which is updated all the time online, and fulfill that checklist
from the VFS
from the
website.
VFS website.
Okay.
This is extremely important. You could, sometimes you don't need all the documents, and you may not put all the documents. But would I do it? I would always do it. I think there's a checklist out there. One must fulfill the checklist no matter how well traveled you are, and you will make your entire visa process smooth. You must put all documentations like flight. You must also attach the holiday that you're taking or a package that you're taking. If you're transferring from one city to the other, are you taking a train or a flight? I think the more you document and the more professionally you document, the more smoother and the lesser time that the visa office has to spend on that. We have a very high percentage of approvals at all the embassies. I don't know the exact percentage, but I assume it's above 85%.
Oh, that's a promising number.
And there has been a lot of groups that have been traveling as well. If documents are supported, I don't think we've really had any problems. And we've also had an annual roadshow where B2B travel trade has been able to meet the visa team and able to sort of exchange and sort of understand what systems and procedures they need to follow.
Okay.
Also, the visa officers are able to communicate any changes that are going to likely to take place. So there's been a good exchange on that front, and I see that we are operating pretty smoothly out there.
So, are there certain bottlenecks or mistakes which travel agents make while designing the itineraries for Scandinavia?
Yes, I think a lot of the travel trade, also like rest of India, for other things which are not tourism related, we sometimes want to assume that Indians are necessarily looking at the cheapest, and they may sometimes start with a price point and work backwards. I think we need to sort of respect the traveler a lot more. We need to sort of inform him what else could that extra $500 get him, and leave the choice to the traveler to decide his budgets.
Yeah.
Create an itinerary with a pace that's more sustainable, more satisfying. A quick trip into the capital cities also sometimes doesn't make me. I mean, someone who came and told me, I loved Copenhagen, but I knew he spent only 2 days there. I think he falls in love very easily. You need a little more time to love a city, to experience a city. You need to go back to be able to experience that. And I think you could, if you had only 2 weeks, you could do 2 countries, because there are packages available for that, I think, today. And
but
go back.
I think what I have realized over the years, they are not only keen to do Scandinavia, they also want to do the complete Nordic package, of course, with or without Iceland. So when they are, especially when you have a direct flight from Delhi to Helsinki and Finnair, so they don't want to miss Helsinki, and they don't want to miss the Santa Claus as well.
Sure.
So instead of Scandinavia, they want to do the Nordic itinerary.
Yes. So I completely understand the pressures of trying to do as much, but I would still say that then possibly increase a few nights, because you're already there, and that change of pace will make you not seek another holiday when you're back. So you could come back very satisfied.
So any itinerary which you can recommend for about 10 days for an Indian traveler?
So I would say if it's too countries, and let's say with this flight connections right now, you're arriving in Copenhagen, for example. You could go over to Malmo in 30 minutes and you're in south of Sweden. You could go to Lund, a city which is only an hour away.
Yeah.
You could go further down to the southernmost tip of Sweden, where they also refer to as the end of the world. It's called Smighuk. You could go to the Absolute Visitor Center for a distillery tour. Also, south of Sweden has, so you need an extra day, maybe or two, has one of the most fertile soils. So you could in the summers do foraging there. You could go farm to table concepts. A lot of them run that there.
So do we have some foraging tours in Scandinavia?
Yes, you can book yourself a foraging tour. You can book yourself a little bonfire with a guide that can take you in the forest. And then you could actually travel from Malmo over to Gothenburg, or you could go to Stockholm.
Okay.
Spend a few nights there in Stockholm. If you had time or you were going back in the winters, I know winters you could go back above the Arctic for the Northern Lights, but from Stockholm you could go over to Oslo. From Oslo you could do Norway in nutshell, from via Flom or Voss into Bergen. You could go travel 6 hours south on a ferry to Stavanger, Stavanger to a ferry down to the tip of Denmark, which is Skagen, and back to sort of Copenhagen via Aarhus, Aalborg, and Roskilde. But probably it requires a lot more than 10 days.
Yeah.
Or you could choose 2 countries to do at a point, and then you could design that around that. So for this you need at least about 2 weeks,
Okay.
but for 10 days you could choose any 2 countries then to do. I would say would be ideal, because 3 countries in 10 days, I think the pace is a little bit too much.
Yeah, the pace becomes too high.
So yeah, unless you increase it by a little bit more, maybe 2 weeks, 14 days, then you could cover.
So
a
the
little
ideal
bit more.
recommendation is a minimum of 2 weeks to cover 3 countries if you have to do.
I
it,
would say
yeah?
yes, and that's just the minimum, I would say. Yeah.
No, that's fine. So now we move on from the travel agents and tour operators and the travelers to the destination management companies. Why a strong destination management company is required to design and execute a Scandinavian itinerary program?
See, I think firstly it is the knowledge. At every phase there is a certain expertise, and a destination management company is in the destination. So I think they're likely to have a lot of more knowledge on the ground. They're likely to have a lot more updates about what has changed, what new can be created. And then you need that support system in terms of if something was to go wrong. I mean, it could be a geopolitical situation, it could be a natural storm, it could be some situation that has required you to have a little assistance.
Yeah.
I think you can't undermine the local presence at that point of time. And also, I think they can be very creative with the itinerary planning. And if required, they can be the only ones to make some last minute changes if that must be made for some reasons or some lack of expectations that the group wanted. They should be the best people to be in charge to be able to do that quickly.
So it is strongly recommended that you should have a destination management company.
I recently came across a statistic while I was in Sweden and my colleague was presenting that about 69% I think Americans use a travel company to make reservations today. Over 50% of the Germans use a travel company to make a reservation. I think today in Scandinavia the statistic could be over 80% of the packages are sold through travel agents in India, or at least spoken to before any decisions are made. So they play a very important role in terms of the information, in terms of the knowledge that they have. And that is why our effort is to do a lot of destination training and updates and familiarization visits or workshops, or bringing in partners that are able to meet the professionals. And absolutely, travelers today understand the importance of a professional in the business, or to hire a professional in any business is working in their favor.
So, do you find that the future of Scandinavia tourism is very bright into the Indian market?
Yes, so we have a lot of growth at the moment. In fact, we are conscious of trying to attract a sustainable, very conscious Indian traveler that is seeking local experiences, authentic experiences. And we are very happy that the Indians are coming in enjoying that. And we hope more and more such Indians that are seeking these real authentic experiences find out more about what Scandinavia offers and seek them and come back happier and more fulfilled post their vacation. So yeah, good times for Scandinavia ahead. Maybe more connections with the flights and more Scandinavians coming to India as well.
Yeah. And what trends do you see in the upcoming 5 years for the Indian travelers exploring Scandinavia?
I think authentic experiences, doing things that they were averse to doing in the past, being open to taking an Arctic plunge in the winters.
I love that.
Yeah, I think.
I was scared 2 years back.
Yes.
I never wanted to
Yes.
jump into the ice cold sea.
Yes, yes.
But this time I tried and really.
Yeah, it's very good. I think slow travel, slightly slowing down the pace. We
Yeah.
live very hectic lives back here in our
That's the
capital
most
cities,
important thing, I
especially in large cities in India. To take it more easy, of course.
Understand the nature.
Being one with nature and being a lot in nature, and not just being restless after you've just seen something of saying let's leave. Going and spending time in a hike, going back to that same place one more time, spending the whole day in a nature reserve or in a wellness, and just taking it easy, enjoying Nordic cuisine and finding out some best places to go have a coffee.
I'll give you a small story from the Nordic cuisine, which just happened a few months back. So we were dining at some very authentic local restaurant, and that lady cooked in such a big salmon into a smoke oven.
Yeah.
So that was the first experience I had of a smoke oven cooked fish.
Yeah.
And when I ate that, next day morning, I bought a smoke oven,
Yeah.
paid extra fees, and brought it to India that I'll recreate that experience.
Yes,
That was
yes.
too, and it was an apple wood through which three smoked it.
Yeah.
So I bought 2 or 3 kilograms of the apple wood. It means the food is changed. You can smoke anything. It's not necessary that I have to smoke a fish or a chicken.
Yeah.
I can smoke a pineapple.
Yeah, there's no pun intended. You can smoke anything, but it's true that that's the thing about travel, that you bring a little bit of the culture back home, and share it with the others. And of course, you go back for authentic experiences.
I'm waiting for the winters to come and to open that box.
Yes.
Thank you, Mohit. It was a very delightful thing for us to hear, and I'm sure our audience would have also loved hearing you.
Thank you.
The knowledge about Scandinavia coming in from one man out of 1.4 billion people. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Anshum, and I hope this continues. And of course, happy
we're all here
to share.
To listen to your knowledge, giving more and more. Transferring that more and more to the audience, and I'm sure that this audience will like and subscribe to our video. My channel is Bindaas Anshum, and I'm really thankful to Mohit Batra from Scandinavian Tourist Board for gracing us and giving us this opportunity to host him for this lovely podcast.
Thank you, Anshum. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
been
you,
a
guys.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.